Good evening, I'm Adrian and welcome to Churikua. Tonight, in our Legends compilation, you will listen the stories of Kinduri, the Devil in Karlův, Krasue, and Huldra. Nevertheless, I remind you that between stories, you will listen to some musical intermissions. So I hope you enjoy because the night awaits for you. I am from Sri Lanka, and although I consider myself superstitious, I do not believe in witches or supernatural beings. Indeed, I do not consider it more than legends and very interesting stories that, outside of fascinating, are nothing more than that. Stories that fascinate us, entertain us, and in some cases linked to our ancestors. Despite my disbelief, it seems that the supernatural knocked on my door, and the opposite happened, literally. One night, a friend called me, desperate. Her husband had fallen ill, and since they didn't have a car because it was in the workshop, they asked me to lend it to them to get to the hospital, despite the fact that I took them myself. Her husband, out of the blue, and with no apparent cause for it, died that same night, or more specifically in the early hours of the morning. They did not know what happened. However, her mother-in-law, at first, like everything and after the shock, they did not realize the obvious, but when they hear what happened the night before, everything seemed to make sense. According to my friend, her husband came home from work and she was heating up dinner when they hear someone knocking on the door. Her husband answered it, and at that point he fell to the floor screaming in pain. She ran out of the kitchen to assist him. She looked at the door and there was no one there. She immediately called me and the rest of the story, you know it. The police were called, but there was no sign of any aggression, injuries, blows, nothing. The situation generated great bewilderment until, as part of the claims of her mother-in-law, is that she, being at night, she had always been told that she should never let her husband attend the door at night, as Kinduri stalks, and by that carelessness and anger was what caused his death. There was never a reasonable and scientific answer to it. It should be noted that she has blamed herself for her death. She has blamed herself for his death ever since. Kinduri is an evil spirit that knocks on doors at night, posing as a pregnant woman usually. If it is a woman who answers the call and opens the door, everyone will be safe and she will just vanish without further ado. However, if it's a man who opens the door, will be doomed to die that same night. Kinduri hates men. It is said that surely in life she was an abused woman or that she died at the hands of her husband. Or simply she will have her reasons to hate them, making them pay with their lives to all those who have the misfortune to open the door in response to her call. I still don't believe in it, but it never hurts. Since then, I do the impossible to open the door when I hear someone knocking at the door, and it has been a great surprise every time I see that no one is there when I open it, finding only smoke and a desolate feeling every time I open it, and there is no one there. If you were in that situation, what would you do? I have to tell you that this story has been told from generation to generation in my family. My ancestor by the name of Ottokar witnessed how King Karl IV decided to build his own bridge, even wider and more durable than the Judith Bridge, using some of his foundations to build this bridge. As he knows to date, the bridge after wars, floods, and so on has survived and has been repaired so that it will continue to stand for much longer. Once, the master builder in charge, Peter Parler, passed away. The new master builder found himself in great difficulty, as King Karl had already died, and now Peter Parler had died as well. This fact, and the people were hoping that the bridge would be finished as soon as possible. However, the new master, burdened by the responsibility falling on his shoulders and the difficulties that were occurring day by day, fervently believed that the devil was playing tricks on him so that the bridge would not progress as it should. So there, in the solitude of his workers, and late at night, he said, "Oh, I ask you to let me know your demands and reason for not allowing us to continue quietly with our work." "Since you mention it, my price, you shall know, but a soul you must deliver to me." After this, they came to an agreement in which the master builder would deliver to the devil the first soul that crossed the bridge once it was finished. When the bridge was about to be finished, the master builder was dismayed, and without forgetting the pact, he looked for a rooster to throw it from one of the towers and thus be able to pay the devil without sacrificing any innocent soul. To his misfortune, the devil was much more cunning and saw a trick of this caliber coming. So he took the form of an assistant bricklayer and went to the master builder's home. When he was there, he told his wife that her husband had met with an accident. She ran out of the bridge. Upon meeting her and seeing that woman's desperation, no one even had the audacity to stop her. The master builder, upon seeing her, released the rooster, trying to mitigate the tragedy. However, it was too late. The rooster was late in the reaching its destination, and she arrived first. Before his cry of despair and astonishment as he burst into tears, she disappeared like smoke.
in a desperate attempt to reach her husband in the distance, who was in the tower. Since then, she wandered late at night after whitish figure, weeping and wailing, until it is said that with the help of the statues of the bridge and that Ottokar could not sleep one night listening to the moans of the poor woman, and he felt sorry for her and prayed for her soul at the foot of one of the statues of the saints that reside on the bridge. And after finishing his prayers, he gave her a smile, saying, "May God help you and give you eternal peace." At that moment, she vanished like smoke. I have to tell and share with you what happened to me last night. After leaving work, I had arranged to meet some friends to go out and have some fun. However, I didn't think that night would end in tragedy. We agreed to go dancing and go for a few drinks. After a fabulous night, we were ready to go home. Despite the circumstances, we set out to find a cab. For this, we have to walk a couple of blocks to catch one. But as the nightclub was located near the underground, we only saw a glow shining in the night sky in the distance. It was fast approaching us. When we saw it up close, we ran as fast as our legs would allow us and circumstances would allow us to run. It came closer, closer. It was the head of a very beautiful and young woman with organs floating. It just came closer and bit one of our friends. We kept running and shouted for help until a policeman came and helped us. Already at the station, we told what happened. As we learned later, our friend Duang appeared, or what was left of him. It was as if he had been devoured by some creature. They took our statement not very convinced, since we had drunk and found some alcohol still in our blood. They said they would investigate, and most likely they took it as the attack of a nocturnal animal on poor Duang. I couldn't go to work the next day. Just thinking about that creature made my hair stand to end. I talked to my family, and someone mentioned that for a while I should avoid going out at night and never walk near the brush again. For what I had seen was surely the Krasue, a spirit that among flames or light at night it preys on the unwary and people who stray from the paths near the brush. As I had described it, it is a head that flies with its stomach, heart, and intestines hanging. According to what I was told, the first Krasue was a very beautiful princess named Kamer, who lived in the era of Angkor. She married a Siamese nobleman who, having defeated her people, was forced to abide by the arranged engagement. Her heart belonged to a soldier whom she continued to see in this light after the marriage, until she was discovered by her husband and sentenced to die at the stake. Some sorcerers learned about her fate and decided to save her from burning, but the spell came too late and could only save her head and the organs she carries hanging with her, preferring to feed on waste, blood, and the unwary. It is believed that if a woman comes in touch with its saliva or practice witchcraft, can be transformed into Krasue at night and living like anyone else during the day. Just in case, I think my nights out are over, as I don't want to be its next victim. My parents always told my brother Lucas and me that we had to be polite and kind to everyone, acquaintances, strangers, or even animals. For us, it made perfect sense to see the world that way, but we never believed that this could help us immeasurably. Living close to the forest, whenever we had a problem or needed to make a difficult decision, we took a walk in the woods. Our father suffered a bad accident and would not be able to continue working for a long period of time, which meant livelihood depended on him, and his accident had been almost lethal. At the time, my brother had just been admitted to college. I was still far from finishing school. In my case, it was not very complicated to decide what to do, as I was already working in a local coffee shop part-time after school. Now, all the responsibility fell on Lucas, since he was the oldest and about to take a big step. He had to think very carefully about what he would do. So once we heard about the accident, he told us that he would go to the forest, and when he came back, he would give us an answer about his decision. He came back at dusk, his eyes shining and sparkling with joy. He told us that it would not be necessary to worry anymore. The next morning, after sunrise, we should check where we kept the tools, and that we should not leave the house after 8 p.m. that night for anything in the world. Mom, somewhat incredulously, agreed, and although she asked for explanations, Lucas insisted that he could not tell them more until the next day. Soon, a heavy rain began to fall, and we heard a roar as the rain increased and did not stop. This led to mudslides throughout the night, and the roads on the way home were badly damaged. Fortunately, our home suffered no major damage, but if we had gone out to see Dad in the hospital, we could have had an accident. In the morning, we waited until there was just a drizzle and checked where Lucas indicated. There we found gold, a few dazzling bars. When we took them home, Lucas finally explained what happened.
I was walking in the woods, not far from home, when I saw a beautiful young woman with a long skirt. I had never seen a more beautiful woman before. I saw her going down the slope, and suddenly she slipped and fell. I approached to help her, but I immediately noticed something strange. She had a cow's tail. It took me by surprise, but I realized that she needed help, and that overcame my fear. I asked her if she was okay. I helped her to stand up, but she couldn't support her foot very well, and it hurt. I told her that I would carry her on my back to her home so that she would get home safe and sound. I gave her some of my water and put my jacket on her so she wouldn't get cold. On the ride, we talked about mundane things like the weather, and I couldn't resist to tell her about my sorrows. She asked me to take her to a hut that looked battered, as if it had been abandoned, and asked me to leave her sitting on a log where firewood was being cooked under a tree. There, she thanked me for my attentions and told me that I was very handsome and kind, that she had a great time with me. In gratitude, she told me that some natural misfortunes were coming and gave me the recommendations that I have given to you. Not to mention that she told me that there was something for me and not to give up my dreams and to take care of my family where we keep the tools.
Thanks to the Huldra that my brother met in the forest, an entity that, in the form of a beautiful woman with a cow's tail, is capable of the greatest regards or the greatest tortures here in Norway. It depends on how you treat her when you meet her. Thanks to what our parents instilled in us, that money was more than enough to pay off medical expenses, house maintenance, and some extra expenses in repairing the house. Not to mention that all this helped Lucas to continue his studies. So, it's much better to continue to be polite, regardless.